it's actually a power move because we're letting ourselves be seen and heard, our real self, because we all wear a mask. We wear a mask in the world. We wear a mask at work. We have to fit a particular persona in any given environment. But when we can kind of just like let our guard down and share a piece of something that's so very personal and demonstrate that there is actually tremendous power in that.
Hey everyone, it's Amy Lynn Durham, and you're listening to Create Magic at Work. Create Magic at Work is on a mission to equip senior leaders with tools they need to be a true quantum leader and actually understand what that means. Improve employee engagement, retain top talent, and transform your workplace culture to have less drama and stress. So let's start making magic. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Create Magic at Work. And this is going to be a fun episode, so buckle up. I have my friend Cynthia Gregory here to talk about love notes. So this is going to be exciting for leaders in the workplace. So let me tell you a little bit about Cynthia. Cynthia is an award-winning writer and author of Journaling as Sacred Practice, an Act of Extreme Bravery, and What is Possible from Here. Cynthia is the founder of Maya Kamas Press. Did I say that right, Cynthia? Maya Kamas?
Yes.
Press? Yay, I got it. Maya Kamas Press, publisher of the #1 best-selling Love Notes from the Soul and Love Notes 2.0, which is launching November 1st, 2025. The Love Notes anthologies feature inspired stories of love, magic, and miracles, showcasing ordinary people doing extraordinary things. She was the editor and curator for the California Writers Club Sonoma County Chapter's annual anthology, One Fire, and has provided editorial guidance to authors of more than 10 fiction and nonfiction books. Cynthia holds advanced degrees from Gonzaga University and Mills College, and she can be reached at CoachCynthiaGregory.com. Cynthia, thank you for showing up to be a guest on Create Magic at Work and to talk about love notes with all of us leaders in the workplace.
I'm so happy to be here. Absolutely. Everybody can use a love note.
I mean, especially those of us that might be hitting that corporate grind, right?
Seriously.
Yeah. Love Notes is a book that you published. So tell all of us a little bit about Love Notes and what inspired you to create this Love Notes anthology series.
That's a great place to start. I have a theory about writing, especially creative writing when you're really in the zone. Very often, if you'll write something and you'll put it away and then you'll come back to it later and you go, who wrote that? That's amazing. And I think that that's a love note from your soul. When you are communicating that purely with your creative source, it knows the right things to say in all the right ways, and it really touches you. So that's kind of the basis of the concept of love notes. And I was talking about it for a while in 2023 and kind of feeling it out. And a friend was turning 80 and she said, hey, I'm going to go do a silent retreat down in Big Sur. Do you want to come? And I'm like, yes, I do. A silent retreat is always very productive. Do to unplug and no phone, no conversation, your own little space. So we were at this Benedictine monastery up on the cliffs of Big Sur. Beautiful, beautiful place. Well, the monks chant twice a day. So they chant at sunrise and at sunset. So I was sitting outside one morning reading Mary Oliver, listening to the monks chant. My heart just got cracked open. I was weeping. Her words were so beautiful and the chanting in the background. And I got this phrase, Love Notes from the Soul. It's an anthology. I got this idea just delivered to me like that. And I thought, well, considering the place and the atmosphere, I should pay attention to it. And I came back and started talking to people about it. I said, hey, everybody has a love note. Everybody has a story of transformation. If you lived any amount of time at all, you've had a hard time. You've overcome obstacles. You may have had, a workplace experience that changed you forever, or that you brought something from your life that changed somebody else's life. And I had 30 people sign up to share their story in that Love Notes book. And it was remarkable. There were 30 authors from 7 countries around the world who wanted to contribute the episode in their life that fundamentally changed them. And so that was the first Love Notes, and it was just amazing. So beautiful. And then I thought I'd do it again. It's very ambitious to publish 2 books in 2 years. And we're getting ready to publish number 2. We've got 27 authors this time. And these stories are no less remarkable than the first ones. But the framework that I wanted to use for this piece was, what are you doing in your daily life that is contributing to a more compassionate world? And I think that everybody does things that they just do, that they think it's the right thing to do, or it's the appropriate thing, or they were taught to be kind, or they were taught to share, or to help somebody who needs a hand up. And these stories are incredible. And part of my whole method is I'm really curious about people. I was at a networking event, and I come from the nonprofit world, so I'm a do-gooder from way back. And I was in this business journal networking scene in Santa Rosa, and I was in this room, and I was circulating, and I was circulating. I felt like I was swimming in a shark tank, and I saw this one man from across the room, and I walked right up to him. I said, "You've got a really nice face. You work in the nonprofit world, don't you?" And he said, "Yes, I do." And we got to talking, and we said, and this, I'm just curious. I'll talk to somebody, I'll go, "What's your story?" So I said, "Why do you do this kind of work?" He's worked for large institutions and universities and very big foundations that have had tremendous impact in the world. I said, "Why do you do what you do? You could choose any industry that you wanted. Why do you choose nonprofit, mission-driven work?" And he goes, "I learned it from my dad. His grandfather was Armenian and escaped Europe after a genocide, and they came to New York, and he grew up in Brooklyn, and they were rug merchants. And he learned these principles of kindness and community from his family, essentially, and it guided the path of his career." And I just thought that was one of those stories that has to be shared.
And is that in Love Notes 2.0?
Yes, it is.
Amazing.
Yeah, so sharing these stories, I've learned that when you share your story of how you've overcome or you've achieved something, you implicitly give other people permission to do the same.
So you shared the inspiration, which is amazing, the vision that you had during that silent retreat. Refresh my memory again, or tell us one more time. So Love Notes, what's the difference between Love Notes that's out right now and Love Notes 2.0 that's releasing on November 1st?
It's more of the same, essentially. It's more people sharing their stories of how they impact the world. On this journey for Love Notes 2.0, I specifically targeted at least a dozen nonprofit leaders, nonprofit founders, people who are helping other nonprofits to achieve, the goals that they've set out for themselves, despite themselves getting in the way. So it's people really just connecting human to human and giving their version of what it means to be happy in their own way.
What have you seen so far with the impact of bringing these stories to life? Like, why do you think it's important right now for all of us to read these stories, to share these stories, to have this collective that you've created, where, especially like with all of us at work, where it can feel really transactional? Why now? Why bring this forward now? What can we benefit from reading it from it?
I think that's such a great question. Sharing something very personal about your own life is an act of courage. It's an act of courage just to put it on the page, much less publish it. And you're vulnerable in doing that. And a lot of people are afraid to do that, and justifiably. They're afraid they'll be judged. They're afraid that, people won't like what they have to say, that they'll somehow take offense. And the truth of the matter is, when you share your own humanity, you help other people recognize their own humanity. And for instance, Sharing something that you're afraid to share. We all have, our hangups. We have family mythologies about what you can and can't talk about, and we have all these rules about how we engage socially. But the truth of the matter is that when we share vulnerably, it's like a Brene Brown thing, right? When we share our own vulnerability, it's not a weakness, it's actually a power move because we're letting ourselves be seen and heard, our real self, because we all wear a mask. We wear a mask in the world, we wear a mask at work. We have to fit a particular persona in any given environment. But when we can kind of just like let our guard down and share a piece of something that's so very personal and demonstrate that there is actually tremendous power in that. One of the authors in Love Notes 2.0, we were talking, it's very funny, and she had mentioned that her brother went to Vietnam when she was a kindergartner. She was 7 years old when she said goodbye to her best friend, her big brother, when he went to Vietnam. And he came back changed and addicted, and it was just really, really sad. Later in her life, she was a founding member of a foundation that was specifically created to provide mental health support to Afghanistan veterans. And she had an opportunity to spend time with these veterans who had seen, war up front and were affected by it and damaged by it. And she learned it was a healing process for her in that. And she shared with me that she'd been holding on to that, I'd say, let's just say 50 years. She'd been holding on to that story about her brother and how it broke the family and it was a cause of shame in the family. When she wrote the story, she got a hold of me later and I said, "Oh, this is just so great. I know exactly in the book where I want it to be." She came to me later and said, "Cynthia, I can't tell you how sharing that story changed everything for me." She goes, she's had clients coming and, she's been booking more clients. The contracts are coming in. She literally shifted the frequency of her life when she released a story she'd been harboring in her heart that long. Because we hold our traumas in our body.
So what do you think the impact is for someone reading the stories then?
Man, I gotta tell you, I cry when I read some of these stories to understand what it takes for somebody to be that vulnerable and to put the words on paper and let themselves be seen and heard, because I think we're afraid to do that for a variety of reasons. It's a healing and transformational experience. In the process of publishing these 2 books, I've become fascinated with the psychology of writing. I have a master's degree in literature and a BA in journalism. I know all about writing, but that's just the technical aspect of writing. And when I look at the psychology of the benefits of writing on a daily basis or having a journaling practice, it's astonishing. It's, helps you regulate your emotions. It helps you to become more empathetic. It helps you to communicate better. It helps you to storytelling in itself is a communication form because it lights up various parts of the brain. So it's actually good for your brain to do this kind of work, a journaling practice on a daily basis or a weekly basis helps to maintain your equilibrium emotionally as well as mentally.
Hey everyone, Amy here. Let's talk about work realities for a second. Whether you're dealing with a tough boss, struggling with team miscommunication, feeling stuck in decision making, let's be real, work drama exists and it's exhausting. But it doesn't have to be this way. At Create Magic at Work, we help leaders like you cut through the chaos, build next-level communication skills, and make better, faster decisions without the stress spiral. Whether you're leading a team or just trying to keep your sanity at work, we've got your back. We coach executives and teams like yours to develop interpersonal savvy, drive engagement, and bring your vision and purpose to life so work actually feels energizing again. Imagine that. More engagement, more productivity, less drama. Our executive coaching team has been in your shoes. We've led teams, navigated workplace challenges, and know what it takes to help you succeed and achieve your goals. Real experience, real talk, and real results. If you're thinking, yes, Amy, we need this at my work, then let's talk. Click the link in the show notes and let us help you and your teams become a high-performing, engaged, and productive force of clarity and calm. I'll see you in the Zoom room. Let's throw the stress and drama out the window. Click on the link in the show notes. Yeah, it's one of those, it's from Dr. Angelis Arian that I remember. I'm going to botch this, but it's like one of the 4 healing salves. Maybe it's 4, maybe it's more. When did you stop singing? When did you stop dancing? When did you stop enjoying storytelling or telling of stories? These are all the things that make us human. And she says, particularly your own story. When did you stop enjoying your own story? And this, to me, these Love Notes books are that. Like, people are enjoying or working through their own story, and then the readers get to also enjoy the storytelling of what's in the Love Notes anthology. And each chapter, right, is a different story from a different contributor.
Yes.
And what's coming to me right now too is I've worked with a lot of people in the corporate space, and interestingly enough, a lot of my colleagues have ideas where they want to write a book or a concept or, something. They want to put something down on paper of what they're feeling and share like a leadership thought that they have. But I rarely see that come to life, although there are so many books out there. I don't know. What's your take on all of that?
There are a lot of books out there, but I also think that we're all innately creative and we all desire to create. And I think that sharing your story is one way of doing that. I was speaking at a Rotary group recently, and there was an older woman. She goes, "I really want to write my book." I'm like, "Please write that book. When you're gone, that voice is gone. We're losing all of that wisdom that you have to share." So I think it's a legacy gift in part. And also, I think that we learn from leadership when they share their process. And so I'm a big fan. I think that the more books, the better. And I also believe that if you have a desire to write a book, somebody has a desire to hear what you have to say. It's that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. When the writer is ready, the reader appears.
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas right now. I'm gonna share with you maybe when we stop recording. Maybe it'll come up in conversation. But I want to also. Do you have a favorite? I mean, I know you probably can't play favorites with the Love Notes, but is there one particular story that just really stands out to you that has impacted, or maybe you hear from readers that it really impacted them? Is there a particular story?
You know what's so funny is it changes now, but I'm thinking this is one. This is from this year's book. This guy, when I met him, I'm not sure he's a millennial. I don't even know. I don't know the categories anymore. He's 27, and when he was 22 years old, he was simply walking to his barber shop for his monthly haircut and happened to be caught in the crossfire of a drive-by shooting. 22 years old, he was shot 3 times, once in the femoral artery, once in the chest, and I think once in his arm. And it just chills me to think he had the presence of mind. A nearby bystander, was making the 911 call. And then as soon as they made the 911 call, they said, "I want to call your mom. What's her phone number?" And he wanted to talk to his mom and say, "Mom, I wanted you to hear it from me. I got shot. It's going to be okay." And just to have that presence of mind. And he recovered. And when he was in the hospital, it took like 6 months or more to recover. And one of the first things the physicians told him was that he'd never walk again. He wouldn't, his life was essentially over. He made up his mind that he was going to run a marathon. He just got done doing an Ironman. He didn't let it stop him. He didn't let that moment identify him. He identified the moment. And so now he's created a nonprofit that helps victims of violent crimes get the necessary physical therapy and treatment they need in order to resume their lives. You could call it destiny, right? You could call it destiny that something like that happened. But there are so many stories like that. Not all of them are that dramatic.
I was just going to say on his story, to me, that's turning fate into destiny. I think that we have these moments of fate. I mean, we could play around with the words and the language, or transforming fate into destiny. You have that choice in that moment, in that timeline, to transform your fate into destiny. And that's what that story illustrated, which is amazing.
Well, he defined the moment, and then he helped other people define their moments in the same framework. So he kind of liberated others by sharing his own story.
Yeah. For me, hearing about compiling all of these love notes for us to just sit and read with a cup of coffee and connect with someone else's human story is really powerful from the spiritual intelligence lens. As an SQ21 coach, there's so many things that this helps tap into, like putting your ego aside and operating from your higher self, helping us have this experience of transcendent oneness with each other. Oh, just like also helping us have the wise and compassionate energy that we can approach things with. You know, just like me, this person has experienced pain in life. Just like me, this person is seeking joy, just like me. And so it has this energetic ripple from something like this. I love it. So, what do you hope people will get out of reading Love Notes 2.0? What is your like one hope that someone reading the compilation of the stories will get from it?
It's in the subtitle, which is, stories of transformation and hope. I hope it gives them hope. It's so easy to get seduced by media and the constant barrage of perspectives out in the world. And very often it's the darker stories that take up the most of the bandwidth in media. And this is a counterpoint to that. This is like there are good people doing good things every day all around you. And that one story of miracles or magic, followed by another, followed by another. The impact of 30 of these or 27 of these stories in a row is kind of like this is not just a one-off. This happens. People do live these remarkable lives, and they find wisdom and they find power in themselves when they least expect it. And we're such a resilient race of people, we are. We're just so strong, and we're more powerful than we know, and we're most powerful when we are willing to offer grace to someone else. And I feel like that's what a lot of this book is about.
I love that, tapping into grace for each other. And yeah, the experience that it sort of melts away the separateness feeling when we read other stories. If you could offer one love note yourself to listeners today, what would you say?
Your story matters. Your story is my story. And it's worth sharing.
So good. Okay. I think this is really cool that Love Notes 2.0 is coming out on November 1st, because my thought that came up was this is a really amazing gift for the holidays to give, right? Like, how cool is that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so we will have the link to Love Notes 2.0 in the show notes. So for everyone listening, you can just click on that link in the show notes and it'll take you right to where you can purchase Love Notes 2.0. And Cynthia, for everyone that listens, every time I do, well, not every time, but a large percentage of the time I do an interview, I pull a journal prompt card from the Create Magic at Work journal prompt card deck. And it gives us a message and an affirmation for everyone listening and for you and I from the universe. And there's a couple of questions that come up. They're executive coaching questions on the cards. And so I'm going to pull a card for all of us today. Oh, we got authenticity. We were talking about, I mean, this was really like the theme of our whole conversation here. And the affirmation on the card is I bring my whole self to all situations, including work. I bring my whole self to all situations, including work. So, the question for you, Cynthia, there's a question on the fly for you here that you can offer advice and wisdom to the listeners. What are 2 actions we can take this week that will help us bring our whole self to all situations, including work?
What comes to mind is to do, first of all, is to sit down a quiet moment, maybe in the evening, and write a love note to yourself of a deep appreciation for both, your flaws as well as all of the remarkable things that you bring to the world. I studied that course years ago now, nonviolent communication, and it was a moment for me that changed everything when I realized that nonviolent communication starts with ourselves. Because very often our self-talk isn't very kind. And we would never talk to somebody that we love the way we talk to ourselves. And so write yourself a love note.
I love that. Love that. Yeah, starting with that internal voice and then changing the way people perceive us externally from that internal work. I think that's a really good suggestion.
Yeah. The other thing I would say, another journaling technique would be to start 3 days a week, getting up in the morning before you hit your media, before you turn on the phone, before you start scrolling for emails and everything else that's on your, list of 1,000 things to accomplish. Just when you're still in that liminal space between sleeping and dreaming and waking, journal for 10 minutes and just put it on the page. And it doesn't have to be about anything, but I guarantee you, if you do that for a month and then you go back and you start reading those entries, you're going to find a pattern and you're going to find a theme running through these semi-conscious moments as you're just waking up. And I think you're between worlds at that time. So you can bring forth, some very high level personal wisdom by that practice.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for reminding us of all of that really at our core. And thank you for bringing Love Notes to life. This is so cool. So Love Notes is available. Love Notes 2.0, November 1st is available right before the holidays. Links are in the show notes. And Cynthia, thank you so much for joining Create Magic at Work and just sharing this work with all of us. It's just, the magic of hearing what's out there in a loving energy way, I think is really important, like you highlighted. So thank you. Thank you for sending some magic to everyone today.
It's been my pleasure. Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Amy.
I want to thank each and every one of you for coming back every week to listen to a new episode of Create Magic at Work and really helping to support and advocate for healthy leaders, workplaces, and lives for all of us. If you want any information on how to connect with me, click on the link in the show notes. You'll get access to all of the social media links for Create Magic at Work. Stay following along for more amazing episodes where we help you improve productivity and profitability in the workplace and decrease stress. Sending magic to everyone, and see you next time.